Believe it or not, from 2009 to 2013, I was straight up anti-sling. For over 4 years, I rocked this janky improvised setup on my plate carrier for work. It was two bungee cords hooked to the back panel of my plate carrier, running over my right shoulder. If I needed to go hands-free, I just looped the hooks through the rear sling keeper on my rifle stock, and I'd call it good. It wasn't pretty, but hey, it beat my issued 3-point sling, which was an absolute nightmare to take on and off. And it was always snagging on random stuff at the worst possible times. And to be honest, I'm kind of convinced that mine was originally issued to Carlos Hathcock back in Vietnam. Look, my bungee hack, it wasn't great, but I wasn't the only one running it. Half of the boys were doing the exact same thing. We definitely weren't right. We just didn't have better options available to us at the time. And to be honest, we thought we knew better than the guys who had already moved on to the Church of 2-point slings. Does this sound familiar? If you're in the anti-sling boat right now, I'm hoping we can change your mind with this one. If you've never messed with a sling, or if you've had one bad experience with a crappy one turn you off to them forever, stick around. Today, I'm breaking down all the major types of slings, what they're for, and how they work. Hopefully that'll set you up for success from day one. So let's break down the types of slings for the AR-15 first. I'm going to rate them objectively from worst to best, starting with the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. Now, keep in mind, these ratings are just like my opinion, man. If you disagree with where I put your favorite sling type, just let me know down in the comment section. I'll see you down there for a round of Mortal Kombat when we're done. First up, we got the worst kind. These are improvised slings. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with these, but if you've been around the block, you've probably got a few stories about guys making improvised slings. If you're a new guy, an improvised sling is something that you're going to see when guys are in a pinch or they're on a super tight budget. These are usually going to be single purpose slings that work for one application and one application only, but they're pretty much going to be useless outside of that one application. If you've never seen one before, here's two of my favorite systems. If you're wearing a full kit and you need a hasty sling, this is the simplest solution out there, and I've already talked about it. I've used it a bunch. You take two bungee cords, you're going to loop them through the hook and loop on the back of your plate carrier, and then you're going to run them over the dominant side shoulder. This is going to leave you with two hooks exposed in front of you that you can attach to a sling keeper on your buttstock, which means your stock's going to need a sling keeper for it to work. I'm speaking from experience on this one, guys. It's not good for anything outside of giving yourself a place to hang your rifle when you need to go hands-on with something. Most of the time, your rifle is going to live in your hands or on the deck when you're running this style. So just be cognizant of that if you're going to try to use this. I wouldn't recommend it. Following that, you've got a paracord sling. You can make them pretty easily. Now, there's several ways that you can do this, but the cheapest one is just to take a length of cordage and then attach it to the front and rear sling swivels of your rifle. If you've got some knot tying skills, then you can create a fancy braid and make yourself a solid survival sling this way. And that's going to get you something almost like a parade sling, which is something that we're going to talk about here just in a minute. Moving up a notch, we have other specialized slings. Parade slings, for example. These are all about carry and presentation. With the right type of parade sling, you can get some serious utility by creating a cuff that wraps around your bicep for a stable shooting position and like an old school marksmanship competition, or if you're doing some precision rifle work, but they're slow to deploy without a lot of practice, and they end up being nothing more than administrative carry slings outside of that. You've seen these a lot with your military parades. Then there's the Ching sling, which is an absolute classic. It's a 2-point sling with a loop that you tension around your bicep for rock solid support in the prone or on a bench rest position. They're great for accuracy, but in my opinion, they're extremely dated when you compare them to modern systems. If you want to learn more about the Ching sling, you can check out this video from Forgotten Weapons, and you're going to learn that they're a unique piece of equipment from just way back in the day. Obviously, that's why Gun Jesus Ian is talking about them. Before we climb to the next tier of slings, let's hit pause for a quick look at sling materials. Honestly, this is the foundation that affects the durability, comfort, and how your sling performs. So I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't take a second to talk about it. Picking the wrong stuff can turn a great design into a floppy mess. So you need to know this stuff. There's going to be a test, so make sure you got your note-taking gear out and you're taking notes through this specific portion. So starting with the heavy hitters in modern circles, you've got nylon or cordura. These are the two MVPs for most modern slings, and that's for good reason. Nylon webbing is insanely strong. Think like 1,000-pound tensile strength, easily. mud, you can rinse it off. Rain dries quickly without the gross mildew buildup. When you add Cordura into the mix, it's just basically beefed up nylon that adds even more puncture resistance. You've got pros for days with these. The slings made from this material are generally super affordable, and you can snag quality ones for under 20 bucks. They're lightweight and they're tough, they're quick drying, and they're also usually super adjustable without stretching out of shape. It's malleable, so buckles and sliders are gonna glide smoothly across it for fast transitions. And all around, there's a reason that nylon is at the top of the food chain. Even the king has problems. Guys, the nylon and the Cordura stuff can feel synthetic or grabby if it's not padded. And if it's super hot and humid out and you have a long, sweaty day, it's gonna retain some of your body odor. So make sure you're washing it. But there's still a reason this is the king of modern slings. Now, these modern slings are great, but there's something to be said about the look and the smell of a nice leather sling. These old school options, they still have their place today. It's got that classic look. It feels soft against the skin right away. They breathe well in dry conditions, and they mold to your body over time for a nice custom fit. It also has a natural give that can help with offhand or prone stability. Good examples of leather slings come from brands like Galco and Hanks. And if you maintain one of these leather slings right, they're gonna last you forever. That said, there's a reason that leather has started to fall off. It stretches under constant load, which messes with the adjustments, and it can shift your rifle's position while you're shooting. When it gets wet, it also turns slick and heavy. It soaks up the water like crazy. Also, a good leather sling is just honestly more expensive. It's usually double what a nylon sling is gonna cost, but it might be better for your hunting setups or a ceremonial rifle where the looks matter more than speed. Not so much for a rifle that you're going to be putting hard work use into. Canvas slings are next. These are your classic surplus style workhorses straight out of the military playbook. They're built rugged with killer abrasion resistance, so they shrug off scrapes and wear like a champ. They're made to last forever. Also, they hold their shape without sagging, which is super important. And once you break them in, they get pretty comfy and breathable. So it's no wonder some guys, kind of still swear by these. Duck canvas, especially, is a super popular choice. That's why it showed up on everything from World War II rifles to Cold War surplus. It takes a beating and it keeps on ticking. Fresh out of the package, though, they're stiff and they're super bulky. It's like draping a 2x4 across your shoulders instead of a sling. So you've got to put real use into softening these slings up. And they soak up moisture way easier than nylon, which can turn them musty if you don't dry them properly after a wet day. Now, these are really your big three when it comes to slings of today. I'm probably missing a few more niche down options like survival slings made entirely from paracord, but at the end of the day, the king for modern slings on the AR-15 platform is going to be your nylon and your Cordura slings. Just about all of your top companies are already manufacturing with this material because it's inexpensive and it's easy to work with, but they're also using it on just about all the rest of the stuff they're manufacturing. So they have loads of the material on hand. So my top pick for a sling material is going to be nylon or Cordura. Continuing our climb from worst to best, next up, we're going to talk about the dreaded 3-point sling. These things got popularized back in the day because they were a legit step up from those old school parade slings. I mean, at least that's what we thought at the time before the Vickers sling hit the market, but we're going to talk about that in a minute, not right now. Now, they allegedly offered better retention. Your rifle doesn't flop around like a dead fish anymore when you're using a 3-point sling correctly. And you're also gonna have quicker transitions when you need to go hands-free or shift positions on the fly. But man, let me tell you, these things were confusing as hell, and most folks just set them up wrong. The basic idea is a strap that runs from the back of the barrel and then across to a chest harness. But if you misadjust it just a little bit or put a part of the sling on wrong, the sling is gonna bind up and twist like a pretzel, and it can turn your whole setup into, honestly, a liability. Now, then we've got a single point sling. These exploded onto the scene in the late 90s into the early 2000s, riding of the wave of that big boom and plate carriers and vests. These are basically a super simple and versatile loop that hooks right around the receiver to keep everything centralized and glued to your core. These blew up for CQB work because you could swing the rifle side to side, enabling you to swap which shoulder the weapon was in without needing to remove the sling entirely from your body. Basically, they were the next best thing to not using a sling at all, while still giving you retention on your rifle. Now, single point slings fell out of style eventually. Like straight up, they torqued the hell out of the receiver, and over time that caused issues. And like I said, it's a lot like not wearing a sling at all. So if you're doing full body movements a lot, the rifle is a lot less stable on your body. They were great for short bursts in the house doing CQB, but on longer operations where you're just walking huge distances, they can get annoying pretty quick. They're not the end all be all anymore, and modern setups just demand way more stability and less wear from the user. Like with anything, as time progresses, the gear just keeps getting better and things evolve. So quick sidebar on quick detach points before we get to the last two sling types. These are those slick little metal or polymer fittings that let you attach or detach the sling in a heartbeat. There's no tools or cursing required with this. How they work is dead simple. You've got a male end that's usually going to be on the sling that clicks into the female socket on your rifle. There's usually a push button or a spring-loaded plunger that makes the system works. You just squeeze or push the button and it's going to pop free instantly from the QD point. There's no fumbling with thumb screws or clips or wrapping the sling around your buttstock. It's just way easier. So if you're buying your first sling and you don't already have some of these QD sling swivels, make sure you pick one up. Your sling probably isn't going to come with it, and it's probably going to be the only way to attach it to your rifle. Position matters big time with where you actually put these QD points. Where you mount them is totally going to be user preference and up to you. So we're going to talk about two of the schools of thought real quick. If you put the QD point out towards the front of the barrel or handguard, you're going to get a more balanced carry and more even weight distribution. The rifle is going to hang more naturally across your chest without pulling weird. And this is great for 2-point slings because it keeps the muzzle from pointing skyward or dragging super low. The downside is it can swing wide if you're doing a pistol transition. Now, if you mount it closer to the receiver, say mid handguard or even up by the receiver yourself, you're going to get something that's way more stable overall with less flop when you're moving dynamically or transitioning to low ready. The rifle stays tighter to your body this way, and it's perfect for your 2-point adjustables or for CQB situations where you want the extra swing. Neither of these schools of thought is wrong. It's just user preference. Try both out if you don't already know which one you like better, because what works for me might not work for you. Oh, and don't sleep on old school methods like traditional sling swivels. These are the basic D-rings on fixed loops screwed into the stock and the handguard. These things are dirt cheap, like under $5 a pair cheap, and they're rock solid reliable if you torque them down right. They've been holding rifles since pretty much forever without issues, so if it's all you got, don't sweat it. But yeah, detaching means you're gonna unscrew or you're gonna unclip and you're gonna have to pull your sling through these gates, which is slower than molasses when you put it up against a QD point. But if you're on a budget and your rifle already has them, they're gonna get the job done just fine for you. All right, when you're in the top now, we got convertible slings. These are the Swiss Army knives of the sling world. They offer a single point or dual point functionality all rolled into one nice package. So you're not stuck swapping out gear a dozen times. It's basically the I have it all option if you're not ready to pick a lane. I usually keep a few of these in my range bag just in case someone doesn't have a sling. But I personally just go to a Vickers sling. I keep these in case there's someone that is new to slings and they need something to help them get onto the sling train as well. So here's how they work. The rear attachment stays fixed to your stock, just like a standard 2-point sling, giving you that solid anchor. Up front though, you've got the magic, a convertible loop, slider, or a QD adapter in the case of this Magpul sling. Lets you reconfigure these guys on the fly. Flip it to a single point mode by collapsing it from the front and hooking it onto the back. And then all of a sudden you're now in a single point sling, and then you can change it back to dual point by splitting the strap into 2 mounts. Some people might consider this to be the king. I think it is I think this is more of a do it all mode, not necessarily the king, because I think that sling is reserved for one sling and one sling only. Why would someone choose this style of sling? Straight up, it's just the versatility, especially if your world involves jumping between roles. Maybe your rifle is an all-purpose rifle. One day you're on the range shooting targets, the next you're out in the tree line hunting deer with that same rifle. A convertible sling is going to give you options, and it's going to give you versatility, and it's going to let everything be just a little bit easier for you. CJ, drum roll please. The best sling on the market, hands down, is going to be your 2-point adjustable sling. Look, I've run just about every type of sling out there. I've run janky improv hacks that barely kept my rifle attached to my body, and I've run overcomplicated 3-point slings that turned everything into a jumbled mess. Bottom line, guys, I was straight up anti-sling as a professional shooter until I got issued a Vickers sling in 2013. At first, I thought it was just going to be another terrible sling in a long line of disappointments. I mean, I had no clue who Larry Vickers or Blue Force Gear even was back then. But the second I slapped it on my rifle and shouldered up, damn, this is the first time that I actually liked a sling right out of the gate. There was no fighting it. There was no cursing under my breath. The sling just worked. It was simple, and that's why I fell in love with it. They nailed it by taking the dead simple reliability of our old basic 2-point parade slings with no extra loops or harnesses or snag-prone crap to fail when you needed it most, and they layered it onto this genius, quick adjustable buckle. Suddenly, I could tweak the length on the fly while working the weapon. I could cinch it tight for vehicle exits or hand-free searches, or I could loosen it for when I got in the prone position without the rifle digging into my neck, or pull slack for fighting transitions and getting into the low ready. It seems so basic, but my mind was blown. Why hadn't anyone done this sooner? And that was the turning point for me. And it's also when I started training with the sling as part of the system. I set my whole kit up around this Vickers sling. From that moment on, I was absolutely hooked on 2-point adjustable slings. 2 points dominate with 70 to 80% of tactical slings buy today per industry reports, and they're the reason that I went from being a sling hater to an evangelist. At the end of the day, guys, every AR deserves a sling because they make you faster, safer, and they keep your rifle from getting beat up. So as always, make sure you get out and you put in the work with whatever sling you end up getting, because that is going to determine your results. If you don't actually practice with your gear, you're never going to get any better with it. If there's a favorite sling of yours that I forgot to mention, let me know down in the comments section. And if you're looking to make your budget rifle feel like $1 million without breaking the bank, check out this video right here.